Today on The Loud Quiet, text messages to my sons with author Tammy Cohen. Hey guys, welcome back to The Loud Quiet. So, communication with your children, whatever age, but specifically for us, talking about adult children, children in college, texting. But are your texts always transactional with the kids?
And that's what we're so glad today that we have Tammy Cohen, a mother who has discovered the power of communication by sending, well, exactly those daily text messages to her three adult sons. And these aren't just reminders or quick check ins, they're actually messages with real weight. Tammy realized that connecting with them meaningfully required, well, adapting to the digital age. And eventually, she actually turned that entire experience into a book called Text Messages to My Sons, where she shares her journey and insights with other parents. And stick around, y'all. Tammy's got something special just for the loud, quiet listeners at the end of today's episode. Tammy, welcome to the loud, quiet.
Thank you so much, Clancy and Rick. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm honored to be on your show.
Well, we're so excited to have you. And yes, as Rick mentioned, we have the book and we have read the book. It's very, very interesting and just touched me,
Yeah.
especially being a mom, in a way that I'm sure it will reach other moms as well. But you filled this book with text messages to your sons, and they're not transactional, like we said in the beginning. They're heart centered, filled with wisdom. How did you decide to send that first text? What prompted that?
Oh, that's a great question. So we have to go back a little bit to the pandemic, when the pandemic first happened, which
Mm-hmm.
was, this is going on, I started messaging with them in the middle, like in the beginning of it. I was shut down like the rest of the world, and my business kind of came to a halt, and I wasn't working as much, and I had more time on my hands, and I realized I wasn't okay. I wasn't very happy with myself. I didn't like where I was at. And I realized I had a lot of limiting beliefs and like a lot of this mindset stuff. My mindset wasn't okay, wasn't
Mm.
happy. So I started, looking into coaches and courses and programs. And I was like, the Mind Valley person, and I was at Unleash the Power Within. I was just like everywhere, kind of never stopped. But I said, wow, like, I never learned any of this. I never heard of any of these things before. They don't teach anything about mindset or limiting beliefs or positivity or gratitude. They just don't teach these things in school. So I decided that I wanted to change the conversation with my kids, because even though I had one still in college and the other two were already past college, I realized that like every text I'd ever sent them was very transactional. And I said, wow, I'm learning so many amazing things. I want to share with them what I'm learning. And
Mm.
that's how it started. So the first text was probably like, just hi, I'm going to share what I read, because one thing I was realizing is that there's such great information in books. Like you have these thinkers from 100, 200, 300, like they put everything they learned in a book, and like you could read it and share it in like a week or two. So that's how it really started for me. And what happened was, over time, as I started doing the habit, it started really coming from my heart, and I just started realizing that I wanted to let them know how much I love them and how worthy they are, because I never heard those things, growing up.
Mm.
And it had an effect on me. And as I was learning more about my things that I needed to work on, I was wondering like what impact I had on them, all the times that I wasn't okay and I was reactive and not feeling very good, and coming from that place of not feeling worthy and all of those kind of
Mm.
things. I said I want to like check in with that more and be more open and be more accountable with them. One of the things that I really learned over all the years of doing this now, is that what started with my sons has had a tremendous ripple effect into every area of my life, with the way I
Mm.
speak to friends, community, myself, the
Mhm.
self-talk that I give myself. I realize the messages that I've been sending to them, I've been messaging myself. And it's shocking to me how I speak so differently than how I used
Huh.
to.
Mm.
because of
Wow.
you open up different pathways in your brain when you start, you take
Hmm.
on a habit and you start doing things and looking at things differently. I realized this has had a ripple effect. They just appreciate it. And they're guys. They're not sitting there, saying, I love you, mommy. You're the best mommy ever. It's not like that. They don't answer a lot of times. They don't. They're guys. Like, they're like, sometimes I get a heart emoji or that's nice, but like, it resonates with them, and I see it when I don't care who the person is you're messaging. It could be a friend who needs the connection. It could be your husband, your partner, your niece, your nephew, your grandchild. It's knowing that somebody loves you enough and cares and thinks about you enough to do this every day means something.
How'd you choose texts? Like of all the communication methods you could have done, how'd you choose text?
I'm not very tech at all.
Uh-huh.
But I have phone and I always, texting's easy. I
Yeah.
wanted to kind of reach them where they were. Like everybody's on their phone. Nobody's really sitting around having a conversation. So I said, I know they're going to see a text that comes up. I didn't want to
Yeah.
go through like a platform like Instagram or social media because the whole point was not having them go there to look at a message. However,
Mm.
somebody told me that their son said to them, "Hey, okay, you want to do this? Like, message me on Snapchat." She was like, "What, Snapchat?" I'm
Wait,
like,
wait, I gotta learn Snapchat now?
yeah, I was like,
Text.
well, that's where they are. That's where you're going to
Yeah.
message them. I mean, I had somebody who said to me, they weren't sure about how to do a message, so they check in with AI. Like, I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like, just get it out there, just
Right.
get out that message so wherever your kids are, and they'll tell you where they are. And you know where they are. So just do it. It's not about you. It's not about what works for you. Like, on my generation, of course we want to have a conversation, but it's not happening. So there's no conditionality. That's what I would say. It has to be unconditional. You send the
Yeah.
message, they don't have to respond.
Right.
It's not about that. And you do it where they are because you want them to see it. What's the point if they're not going to even see it?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and I like that idea of you're saying, look, it's thinking about them. It's thinking about their perspective and that. And so I'm actually kind of curious. I'm trying to get in the head of your sons because I'm trying to think if the reverse were happening to me. And at a certain point, there's probably at the beginning, it's like, oh yeah, mom's going to do this thing. But then after a while, they start to realize, oh wait, mom's doing this thing, and it's no longer just an idea, but she's really doing this. How did they react once they realized this was real?
They like it
Mm.
because that's my way of checking in also. And you know what? It's funny. When they wrote the forward, they wrote that the message makes them feel bulletproof. Like the
Mm,
day can go sideways, but like they have that message that somebody
Yeah.
cares, that somebody's telling them they're amazing or sharing something
uh-huh.
worthwhile. And I really believe that when I go on to my next life, that's what they're going to miss. They're going to miss those messages. You think they're going to think about what I bought for them? They're not going to even think about any of those things. They're going to think
Mm.
about, I miss the message. And one of the things that really stood out to me was they were just like amazed because I was, I was going through this whole breast cancer journey and chemo and everything, and I still was messaging. And they just saw that as like, so like it just meant so much to them. They couldn't believe I was still
Mm,
doing it, like I still, but you know what it is? Rick and Clancy, it's like this is a habit, right? Like some
Right.
people
yeah.
like I have to go to the gym. Like I really feel like I want to do this. They know it. Like the energy when I send it, my day gets better. And
Yeah.
I know they feel it when they read it. They're like, and even if they don't read it at that moment or they read it later, it's okay. It's just that energy exchange that's going out. And so yeah, I think they just got used to it.
I love that talking about how it makes you feel some power and energy, just good energy. I love that it's not just for them, it's for you as
Mhm.
well. So how have you seen this change your relationship with your sons when you started doing this?
Well, it's very interesting. I feel like we have a deeper sense of trust. You know,
Mm.
I think the first big change came when I started being accountable. Like in the messages, I realized like I was actually saying to them, listen, I wasn't okay all the time.
Hmm.
when you were growing up. I was not happy. I had a lot of my own trauma from like being young, like when I was young. And I was also explaining for them like the subconscious and the 0 to 7 and what happens. So I started saying to them, like when I would scream or yell or say something not nice, it was not you. It was me. Okay.
Mm.
I was triggered because I wasn't okay. And I wanted them to know that I feel like it's never too late to apologize or to say like it wasn't them, because what are the kid going to think? They're just standing there and they're thinking, I'm bad. What did I do wrong? And I never wanted them to think that or have that, shadow on them. And that's when I started owning like those things that I did that I wasn't okay with, that I could have done way better with. That's when they started to see me as a human being. That's when
Yeah.
it kind of shifted where it wasn't just mom, it was like you're human, and you're admitting like that you had all these things that they didn't know. So I think that was a big shift. And then also, I had been messaging them about resilience, like how life brings you gifts, and treat life like it's your best friend. Your best friend will want to do right by you and give you beautiful things and gifts. And then
Hmm.
if you do, everything that comes your way, if you see it as a gift, you know what, you're going to pivot much faster. You're gonna learn from it. You're going to move forward. But if you're going to look at everything as a bad thing, as a hard thing, the life is going to be sucked out of you. Like that, those are always the resilience type of messages. And then here I am, having to explain to them that I have a breast cancer diagnosis, and it's a very
Mm.
aggressive type, and blah blah blah. And you know what? I was like shocked because the whole shift became them messaging me. Them
Wow.
saying to me, like, we got this. We're the Cohen family. We got this. You're strong and we're going to be fine. And then them turning around and saying, like, every day, what can I do for you? How are you? What do you need? My boys were doing all the errands, doing the food shopping. I couldn't walk. Like my feet got really affected. My legs were affected from the treatments. And you know what? Like and I'm not saying they wouldn't have done it, and it was the messages that made that happen. But I
Yeah.
think the pattern of that communication, they were able to, you know, pivot and do it for me. And that was just absolutely a very pivotal thing for me.
It's like you had laid the groundwork.
Yeah.
I love that. That's great. Yeah.
That's what I was kind of thinking is that there was already, when you went into that diagnosis and had to experience that, they already had a pathway, the
Mhm.
foundation. It was already there,
Mm.
as opposed to how do we learn to communicate with mom and then be able to support mom. You already had that communication foundation put in place so that they could just pivot immediately into supporting mom. It seems like you had a healthy and a positive relation. No relationship is perfect. I heard what you were saying, but for the most part, healthy connection with your kids as you entered into this process of texting, and that just helped it grow. What would you say to parents right now that are listening to this, especially empty nest parents that are thinking, well, I don't even have a baseline connection with my kids? How do you help them as they might want to move forward in this idea of texting or just building communication with their
Mhm.
kids?
Well, that's an excellent question. First of all, the first thing I say, even it's in the book too, is that I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a coach. I'm not certified in these things. I'm just a mom who did something. But
Mhm.
look, if it's a situation that requires external help, like there's
Yeah.
resources, and you should go definitely have help. I think that it's never too late. Okay. Like I said, I started with my sons. They were 27, 26, 25 in there, 24, 22. My youngest. It's not like they were little and we built this whole thing
Mhm.
together. You can
Hmm.
start at any time, and it's not a one-off. So if you're going to do this, you gotta commit, and you got to make the effort. You can't be like, I'm going to send a message on Tuesday and then next Wednesday I'll say it's not going to work. It has to be a daily thing. And it doesn't have to start off like my messages are long. My kids joke with me, you send long messages. And I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah, well, like I have something to share, but it
Mhm.
doesn't have to start off that way. It just can just start off with, listen, I admire you and I want to get to know you. And I know
Mhm.
that it's hard with where we're distance and everybody's running around. So I'm going to, just reach out to you and tell you that I love you. And I'm going to reach out and tell you this. And I think if it's organic and it's really comes from like a good place, I think that your child will be fine with it. I don't know anybody, regardless of how old they are or what stage, that they didn't want to know that their parent loved them or their parent thought they were worthy. Because,
Mhm.
you know, you grow up in the house and sometimes you get lost with the kids or you get labeled or you act a certain way, but you're not really sure where you stand. And a lot of people today, especially in the area where there's a lot of in between 18 and 30-year-olds. There's a level of disconnection, addictions, issues with 18, 30-year-olds. And a lot of them will say, well, my parents this, my parents that, it's this, that primary relationship. So if you come out in a place of love, like not judgment, not trying to fix, there's nothing to fix.
Right.
Okay. You can't fix. Okay. You can just be
Mhm.
empathetic and give them love and tell them they matter. Like, and that's what I do because somebody once said to me, and it really resonated with me, like, I'm not here to, like, and she's a coach, I'm not here to fix anybody. I'm here to listen. I've been doing positive intelligence. Shirzad Shamin has this like amazing program, and it has emotional intelligence built into it. And one of the things that we all have is this thing called the judge. It's the main saboteur like that we all have. It sits in our left side. There's other saboteurs, but the judge is what everybody has. We judge ourselves, we judge others, we judge situations. So one of the hardest things with kids is not to judge the situation or judge what they're doing or judge something because you love
Mhm.
them. Like, but they don't see it that way. So that's why you kind of have to come from this place of just complete love, gratitude, empathy, like, and then you can get a little bit more into it with, accountability and resilience. It's not something you just like start messaging them these crazy, you start and you build up to it. And there's
Right.
another
Mhm.
Right.
important thing too, is that every kid, it's a different age, it's a different kid almost, okay? Like I have people reaching out to me and saying, my kid has a phone in middle school, can I start? I'm like, you can start, but it's one type of message.
Right.
Went from
Yeah.
lower school to middle school, they're more independent, but one type of message. That kid who's now going middle school to high school, it's more independence. They still need the reminder. They'll still need the commands. Once they go to college, it's a different kid. You got to go with the independence. You got to let them. They're living somewhere else. You've got to be able to shift. You can't keep looking at them as that same kid
Yeah.
who didn't do this and do that when they, like it's a
Yeah.
different it's a different kid, and you've got to like let them go with the independence and just be very supportive of that
Yeah.
independence. Yeah.
I love that. We talk a lot about moving out of the fix it stage into being the support mentor, that kind of, you have those years that yes, you have to be the parent,
Right.
but then now that they're older, yes, you move into that more supportive role.
Hmm.
And when they need you to be the parent, you will know when you need to be the parent. But
Oftentimes they'll invite you in to be the parent
yes.
sometimes in that case. Sometimes
uh,
not. But in
yeah.
general, yeah, once you've made it to that point, it really is
Hmm.
influence and nudging and not dictating.
Right.
Exactly. It just really changes.
Hmm. Okay, so you have all of these texts. How did you decide to put them in a book? And I also want to know what your sons thought about
Oh
you putting
yeah.
them in a book.
Okay, that's another great question. So I had no intention to write a book. This was never a book.
Mhm.
But I would tell friends, like I tell like people like oh, I do this with my kids, and they're like, wow, that's amazing. You should put it in a book.
Mhm.
I was just like, how the hell do you do that? I don't know how to write a book. So the first edition came out in 2023, and I self-published, and I was at least I figured let me Google editors because I did what the text are I don't know how to format or do any of those things. So I said let me get an editor. So I Googled and I found an editor, And I knew nothing about any of this stuff. But it's surprisingly enough, I entered in a couple of competitions, and one of them was attending the American Libraries Association conference, which was great. And I was signing books, and that's where I met publishers.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, and so this expanded edition is a very different kind of look than the original book was. First of all, it has
Hmm.
4 years of messages instead of two. It
Mm.
has introductions and epilogues, like why
Hmm.
why message about gratitude and appreciation, why these types of messages. That was my kids were really excited. They couldn't believe I was doing this. They thought it was really cool. They didn't want their picture in the first book anywhere. You don't want, don't put a picture. I was like, okay. Like put your, can I say like in the dedication, like your name? It's like not your full name,
Uh-huh.
just your first name. It's like, what, you know? And then they got involved and they came to the
Yeah.
launch party and they were into it and they were started
Uh-huh.
sharing it and their friends were buying it. So the first book was really more friends and family kind of thing. And then this book is like, I see experts are weighing in. They're like saying, this is important. This is a new way to communicate. This is a great way because kids are so influenced by the algorithms and they're looking at social media all day and they're feeling they're external. They're looking for validation over there. And you can show them that they don't need that validation over there.
Yeah.
They don't need to be indoctrinated over there. They don't need misinformation because you're going to give them, you're sharing with them wisdom, like from, it's not manipulation. One person reached out to me and he's link booked influential LinkedIn, lots of business groups. And he's like, my son was getting in trouble in school every day. And I started messaging him and I started doing this. And you know what? It stopped. He just wanted me to pay attention. He wanted me to see him.
Mm.
And I send him these beautiful messages. And my daughter is really young. She doesn't have a phone. So I write a little message and put it in the lunchbox. Now he's a
Yeah.
different
Uh-huh.
generation than me. I said,
Mhm.
but that's where do you think it all starts from? The
Yeah.
message in the lunchbox. I used to look at the kids who got the message in the lunchbox.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
On the planet,
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
you know?
I,
Well, I wanted to say because I love how you arranged the book. Like even for someone who doesn't read it as text messages, I just love the categories that it's divided in. I mean, it's just very inspirational for anyone, even if you're not planning on doing this with your children, just reading the information that you put in this book through your text messages is just really, really uplifting and
yeah.
just could set your day. I could see this being a morning
Like a
book
morning
to read.
devotional
Yeah.
book. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
It-
I have a funny story for you guys. So my husband, English is like his fourth language. So when he reads, he'll read in, his native language. So I would get him like, a murder mystery or something translated. That was a popular one in his
uh,
language. So he read the book and he was like, and I knew it would be easy because it's in text message format. And he read it like literally in a day and a half. He was like so
mm.
excited. And he was like, I got to tell you something. He goes, it was a great book. He goes, I had no idea you felt this way. I'm
Oh,
married
Oh.
33 years.
yeah. Uh-huh.
Wow.
He was
Uh-huh.
like, I didn't know you felt like that. And I didn't
Wow.
know you thought those things. And I was just
Mm.
like, yeah, I didn't either.
Mhm.
They just come out.
Yeah.
That's what, well, actually, today I'm learning almost for the first time the impact that you've not, this isn't just about you and your sons. Like there, you just described it as you and your husband, how that has impacted that. Earlier on in the episode, you said something that caught, and I wanted to go back to it. And you talked about how this has shaped how you interact with other
Mhm.
people and
Mhm.
how it's even changed you internally. Why? What are you seeing when it goes beyond just your sons and how you're interacting with others in the world and how they're interacting with you?
Well, I'll tell you, it was really, I didn't realize it. I didn't realize it until this transformative time with going through a health crisis, right?
Hmm.
Mm.
So I realized that every mess, this was all about me connecting to myself. I was doing it to my sons because I wanted to connect to them, but I was really messaging myself. And I didn't understand that until
Mm.
this happened because I needed the reason. Like, how could I be strong for anybody? And when I'm talking about resilience, I'm messaging about resilience, but how could I not be resilient going through
Right.
going through like these things? And you know what? I started also having more faith and trust in God. I started connecting to God. I started looking at my friends and seeing them very differently because I was never a person who felt like I never felt like empathy and compassion and love. I knew I loved my boys. I knew I loved this one, but sometimes I'd be like, why don't I feel those feelings? Like I don't
Hmm.
feel it. Like what does it feel like? I never knew how to ask and I didn't know how to receive. Okay.
Hmm.
So the messages and going through all this, it all came together and I realized like, oh, I can receive compassion and support from friends and family, and I can ask for help. That was
Yeah.
a big thing for me. And I think if the messaging, like that rewiring of the brain and starting to think along the lines of gratitude and love and family and things, I think that was underneath it all, really positioning my head to be able to make the shift so that I was able to really connect on a different level with so many people. And I realized this is like an exercise, right?
Yeah.
Keep doing something like you play tennis, right? You can learn, somebody could tell you how to play tennis and okay, I have to make a serve, I have to do a forehand. What is that?
Yeah.
And somebody could
Yeah.
teach you how to do it. You have to practice every day. You want to be really good at it. While you're practicing getting really good and getting better at it, your brain is making all the connections about how you play tennis and how you get really good at it. It's no different. It's forming a habit that changes the way, your cognition works. And that's what happened to me. And I believe that it's can happen to other people. It's interesting because I know this is, to my sons and it's a guide for parents, but
Hmm.
what I'm seeing is that grandparents are loving it. I'm seeing that people saying to me, but I don't have children, but I have nieces and nephews that mean everything to me. I'm messaging my niece and nephew, connections between partners, spouses, even your friends. I mean, Simon Sinek said something that was really powerful. And this is after the book, was my second book came out. And I was like, this is amazing. He was talking about his friends and the connection and not even knowing, like, when your friend really needs you or not needs you, but like he said that all somebody needs who's really going through a bad time is 8 minutes of somebody's time to listen to them. 8 minutes.
Hmm.
Okay. Now the code he uses with his friends when it's something serious is they say, I need 8 minutes.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
most of the time you like your friend will say, like, hey, text, like they'll text you, call me. Like you don't know something.
Yeah.
So 8 minutes. So
Yeah.
okay, that's 8 minutes to help somebody. So it's about that, right? It's all about that. It's just being
Yeah.
present. So you could do it with anybody who needs it, anybody who you feel is going through something and you want to be there because that'll mean more to them than anything.
Wow.
Mhm.
There's so much that you've shared today that's applicable to everybody,
Mhm.
including our audience is primarily empty nesters. Is there something unique or particularly special that you'd want to say to the empty nester today?
You're so great. You're so lucky. Like, listen,
Yeah.
actually, this is a whole other chapter. I'm an empty nest. Well, I was an empty nester. My youngest son is living at home.
Ah,
But you know what? Like it's never too late to start anything. You could do anything.
Mhm.
Like I'm in my 60s, okay? If you would have told me, I don't know, 5 years ago that I would have founded a women's business network, I would have a podcast, I would be doing interviews, I would have written 2 books already, and I'd still be working. I'd have a blog. I would have looked at you like you were insane, okay? No, it's like, what are you talking about? Who?
Mhm.
You know? Yeah, it's never too late. And actually, you have time now to sit and just think, just be. You have time to do self-care. Like who could do self-care when we're raising kids, right? Who could
Mhm.
focus on those things? There's so many good things that you could do and learn and take on and just open up a whole new landscape. It's all what you want it to be because those primary caregiving relation things that you have to do, like when that's taken away or off your plate, like put that energy into yourself and start doing new things.
oh, that's
And your kids
awesome.
are going to respect you. They're going to love that you do that. My kids, love everything. They just respect me. They can't believe what I'm doing or what I've done,
Mm.
and I can't believe it either, but they're supportive. They're very supportive. And I think I tell every empty nester, your kids will be so proud, like of you
That's
Hmm.
awesome.
trying new things and doing new things and embracing things. That's you're
Yeah.
a great role model when you do that, actually.
And isn't that such a flip? Because the whole time, they're trying to make us proud of them. And then it's so nice when they're so proud of something that you've
Yeah,
done.
absolutely.
Well,
It's,
look at you two. I mean, you just were telling your story. You had
Mhm.
playroom. You made it into a studio. Okay, studio.
Mhm.
And you have a podcast and it looks amazing and you're out there and your kids must be like, my parents are so cool.
Well, those are very kind words, and it is completely agreed. This is a time of new opportunity. It absolutely
Mhm.
is.
Well, Tammy, tell our audience where they can find you and the special offer that you have for them today.
Absolutely. So I'm very easy to find. It's Tammy J, Tammy, J is in Jack, Cohen, Cohen, .com. That's my website. It's easy to find me. I'm on Instagram as Tammy, Tammy, Cohen. I'm on LinkedIn, same way, Tammy J. Cohen.
You got
My
them all. That's
email,
good.
You got it
it's
locked
really
down.
easy. I have the domain. No, my email is connect at tammyjcohen.com. So I'm real easy to reach. And for your listeners, okay, we have two great things. One is a special discount code to get the book, and I believe it's
Nice.
Yes,
15%
you'll
discount
get
code.
that.
And also, for those of you who want a taste of the book, because you want to like try it out, we have a download of the first two chapters, so that you can get a
Oh yeah,
taste and see if
Perfect.
it's something you want to purchase or if it's for you.
that's awesome.
Yeah, so that's our two giveaways that I'm excited about.
Great.
I'm very excited about that, and all of that information will be in the show notes for sure. And then also, all of this you can find at theloudquiet.com. Head over there. You can get all of Tammy's information. You can get the sweet discounts. You can find out more about the Loud Quiet community and everything else that's there. Tammy, sometimes I think ahead of time of, how am I going to close something out? This time, my synapses are so frozen because you've taught me so much.
Wow.
I was really caught by the vulnerability that you shared when you said that's when it really started to unlock things with my kids when I admitted the that I wasn't the perfect person. I think the idea of just getting started and that continuity and that cementing of the relationship that you offered up, and then just the simple fact that this goes beyond kids. This goes into how
Mhm.
your entire framework around interacting with other humans in your community and beyond has really caught me. I have so valued you being here. Tammy, thank you for
Mhm.
being on The Loud Quiet.
Thank you so much for having me, Rick and Clancy. I enjoy our conversation, and you brought out the best in me.